Well, hello everyone. Here to show you the Jaycee Dugard medium late season coloring activity right here. As you see right here, as I would you right here is a picture, just like I'll say on the front, you say the cover book of, say Jaycee Dugard, like whenever she is so far as happy, and then along with next to the vehicle that she was in her book, like talking about the type of a vehicle that be driving it was, and then on the other hand too, that knowing about that from what I read about the story, and knowing about that from whenever getting a driver's license, and then of course learn to drive, and working on this for education, and so far as happy to be back and that type of stuff, and basically though that I have not read the whole book, but I'll be working right here is say a flower type shape right here. It's as so far as knowing about besides maybe a particular name for other than it's a daisy, though that the types of colors that we would more likely be using for that type of flower. I'll go ahead and use a little bit of the purple right here, but basically though that add just a little bit of purple right here for is the color panel for the flower. But basically talk about is the lady made season is that with most of the time that we can maybe think that whenever we're doing artwork, it is that anybody may think about that besides looking at part of the picture, and then there were some parts to say this picture right here, and some part I guess you say the drawing. There were some parts of the drawing that I would hit and add to is because I know it's other than it's with the picture, and plus what I was assuming that more likely what the rest of the picture would more likely look like. But your hair right here is an example right there of a tree, and that knowing the for lady made season is basically talk about that with an activity that I went ahead and put together. Of course, I'm I tell everybody here, not everything of course I do is all made up either, but just a few things that I think I just go ahead and pick for what I like to use, and then basically talk about is with the story though. But anyway, but talking about is from how she survived, and knowing about recovering and healing, of course with their new life it is, and but basically though that you have right here is like I say, a storyline, knowing about that for to say the stolen life right here of for the lady made season is basically that the type of season, and anybody that may say that if we can maybe pick up a favorite say if we can maybe think of a season that we would like to make up, such as a season to where it's a mixture or say a variety of different flowers and plants that you may like to see maybe in the lawns, if there was some land, some property over here, it is maybe some grass, you say, with some lawns on this side, say the sidewalk, and then on the other hand that draw here in the background is a sidewalk. Go ahead and use right here, it's the yellow right here, there's to show us the sidewalk, and then you would have the road about right here. But basically it's for lady made season. It's basically that I'll go ahead and work right here the red, and then the orange, the light red, and dark I guess you say that I think I guess it'll be say maybe a burgundy type color. You're kind of like a red, but then a red brown type mix. But anyway, that what I'll go ahead and do from say I can go ahead and color this kind of like what normally what is shown in the picture that if most of us have seen is from the original print that is for Jaycee Dugard. It's the front cover though that but shown right here that with anybody, if they were to try to maybe practice some of the artwork of knowing about that if you would actually look at the picture and try drawing a freehand, knowing about the types of things that we can more likely do by freehand, it's kind of get an idea for if you want to go ahead and draw it on paper, on sketch paper, and go ahead and add some ideas to it, such as that details for the car, and then on the other hand that if that this right here would be say is a side mirror right here, But basically, that talking about with the maid season, with lady maid season, and with this coloring activity right here, is what I went ahead and put together though. Is see here, there would be see here, cats. I guess you say like cats. You say on that sweater. I think it was a sweater, some type of tank top or something like that she was wearing. But anyway, shown right here is like say of a sketch of say of Jaycee Dugard and let's say with the stolen life, but that you have right here is like the outfit that she would be I think either a skirt or something that she would be wearing in the photo. But for Lady Maid season, is showing that the type of activity that I went ahead and put together right here is that if anybody were to want to make their make a season to where that the types of flowers and plants that more likely that they would like to see, and like if we were to use the red right here and then put like a little bit of blend right here of red inside the flower right here. And with anybody that may wonder, I'm like, yeah, that there's only 4 seasons, but let's just say the same type of colors that maybe we will be adding to this flower design right here, if most of us have taken any type of graphic design lessons, that the types of groups of shapes and stuff like that you'll be adding to that to use for this picture here. And with most of the time that go ahead and add details right here is like for details, the coloring is like for the face that I'll go ahead and add right here is like for the eyes, and then along with the hair. And anybody may think about like, yeah, that maybe the yellow, go ahead and use the the yellow right here is like for the front part, say, of the face. And it's like say the the happy bright intelligent looking face that more like it's like the author would have. It's like so far as knowing about the happy to be back, that type of expression. And then it's like with the tongue sticking out. And anybody may be thinking about like, yeah, that really that whenever you a lot of times though that anybody would probably think about, yeah, when people stick their tongue out a lot of times, it could also mean by what you call is like what you looking at or something like that. But anyway, just add a little bit of detail right there. It's like for the tongue, and then add in from there, and then add a little bit of detail right here. It's like for the mouth. It's like using the pink. And from what I remember from the story is that it's like the favorite color. Her favorite color was pink. So a lot of times I'm like using a lot of pink for a lot of the artwork I've been working on. And I tell you one thing, that with pink though, if you use pink along with a few other colors, that it would show pretty well for like what you call is like maybe not just a girl type style, but on your hand too, that like for ladies, for the lady maid season is talking about, it's like any type of perfume products. Like anybody think about, yeah, perfume products that more likely that they would enjoy wearing. That not only about the look, but then of course it's like it smells. Like if anybody may think about, if there was like a perfume brand out there that was like colored like kind of like this, where it had like say like a logo of a flower. It's like a pink flower along with say mix of a green, say in the center or something like that. And let's just say at the name of the perfume for like which calls this lady maid season would be what you call something like see here, maybe something more for ladies, that it could be go ahead and tell that the perfume as that Mostica calls like for Mostica. I can see. Go ahead, put right here. Yeah, go ahead and put it like for Mostica. Mostica. For Mostica, they say Mostica. Tagalay. Mostica Tagalay. Mostica Tagalay, I'm like, that sounds kind of like maybe like a recipe, but let's just say if that was like a perfume type product. But right here is I went ahead and is like besides like for the Mostica Tagalay of knowing about that what the Lady Made season is shown right here is that I'll go ahead and use right here is a little bit more of the purple right here, but just like to color in a little bit of the outline is like for Jaycee Dugard and whenever she's like to be presented for her book is like for whenever it was published it was and basically that I went ahead and added in the details right here of see the inside of the car and like with most vehicles that you would have it to where you had the lock right there of the car and then you have maybe if you had like some speakers on the side or something like that and then along with the other storage space compartments you say inside the car and then say lots of leg room and then see here that the driver's seat would be at about right here. I can probably use a few other colors too, but I'm just going to go ahead and draw in the details right here of the vehicle. And anybody may think about like, yeah, that and whenever you hop into a car, a lot of times you may see the steering wheel, but a lot of times it's like, well, where do I sit? But but anyway, that like you got the seat to say of the driver's seat about right here, and then from there, and then it goes by that. See here, for a Mostica Tagalay or something like that, go ahead and add a little bit of green right here. But basically that with this coloring activity, I'm like coloring in the whole thing, but just get some ideas, like talking about like say the green rooftop, stuff like that. But for the the ladies made season of shown right here is see here, go ahead and maybe add a shadow right here of the car. So add just a little bit of brown type shadow right here. But anyway, and then see here, worker right here is like with the orange, but here right here is the door, like if she would be getting ready to hop in, and then drive the car, drive for a ride, just go somewhere, and then along right here will be is a mirror, and for the rear view mirror, I guess if it will be reflecting from the other part of the street, so let's just say that if it was like on the other side, that more likely though that it's like in the image it shows like say like just a normal image, but we'll just say that at the most part that the reflection will look more like this right here. And a lot of times with most reflections it may look like what you call like just a normal shade of a brown or gold or something like that, but I may go ahead and add like if there was actually a tree standing at about right here. It is to go ahead and use right here's a little bit of green, and then add like if there was an actual tree standing right there. That's for all. It's like for the Lady Made season of talking about like the type of season that we would maybe like to see, maybe for other than winter, spring, summer, and fall, that knowing about the types of seasons that we would like to see. And anybody may think about if there's a fifth or sixth season, what time of the year does it come? And I besides Mostica Tagalay, the type of perfume though that let's just say it's a season of besides winter, spring, summer, and fall. Let's just say if it was so key line, so key line season or something like that. So key line and more likely, so key line. Sounds a little bit maybe like a a clothing, maybe type in, for Jaycee line, and I can maybe spell it also for Jaycee line. Jaycee line. Jaycee line. I think maybe it's spelled maybe with the like as a CK, but for Jaycee line. Jaycee line basically is like a top, say with the pine cone. Anybody maybe think about like in pine cone, type of pine cone that don't really have no smell, but a lot of times it's like they talk about whenever it's real dry that what is it normally, but like for Jaycee line, it's basically that the type of pine cone that usually grows on a tree is like for like in the pine trees around the summertime and then ready to sprout, and about whenever it falls, like basically talk about, say, for a seed of the new beginning, though. But on the other hand, that like with anybody who probably say that would say with most pine cones, it's like that at the time that besides like say with the rainbow, that if you were to walk up to a rainbow and try to touch it, but basically that with the pine cone is like you actually be able to touch it, and like what anybody may say about the whole part about the story about a story about a new beginning is like so far as like with the bookmark of knowing about for the new beginning of talk about say for the Lady Maid season it is, and basically that the types of colors be using right here is like for Mostica Agale, that the details I would hit in there right here is like for the for Jaycee Dugard In. But right here, go ahead and add a little bit of detail right here. It's like say in black right there, and then from there, and then see here, I can go ahead and maybe use the orange and the brown. I think that should work just fine. Add just a little bit of light, faded like a light the color of brown right here. So as for Mystico Agale, Jaycee line. See here a little orange as well. And then there we are. It's like you have right there is like the side mirror say the door, and then from there and see here, go ahead and yeah, I have like 12 different colors here, and knowing about which one I think looks good on what, but you have right here the details right here say inside the car, if the car had like a stereo, and of course you say with cruise control and other stuff like that. But anyway, but the whole part about for the ladies maid season is that the lady maid season that basically that talking about right here is that a type of activity that I went ahead and decided to put together is just to show about the types of activities, and knowing about if we were to make up our own season, and knowing about a lot of times what it would be, and then it would maybe some people that may say it'll be a time of season where it's not very hot and not very cold, but just right or something like that. But a lot of times around springtime that I think I'm like between June of 1991 and of course August of 2009, and it's like that a lot of ways though that warning about in between those, I'm like between the spring and the summertime it is. But I'm sure anybody would maybe think that if that a couple times in the winter time that knowing about not too many plants are out there, of course, but it's like other than for like so this the Jaycee line, that most plants would more likely turn brown whenever they don't have like say enough sunlight, maybe too cold or something like that. But other than that, like talk about right here, talking about is like the activity right here. And honestly, the activity, if I for the from the front cover say of the book, it's like talk about it's like for the stolen life, and but other than that they have right here, I'll go ahead and add right here. You got of course some details right here. Using that say the orange, for the bottom of the shoes. Like exactly, I'm like at the time I'm like exactly how the types of shoes that especially with like maybe a basketball player, if I may be drawing them, and then kind of just showing the honor, for how well that they played that certain sport or something like that, and just kind of drawing in the details about the types of maybe the types of watches or headbands or shoes that they would be wearing. But on the other hand, that we can maybe think that yeah, about the whole part about the book about it's like for the stolen life, and they probably say that the author knowing about that there are some so many certain images, I'm sure that people won't want to be shared. Other than that they're kept pretty private and confidential. But other than that but right here is that knowing about that with the types of see here, I'll go ahead and add right here is the green, and then see here, I used the purple already on that, but I'll go ahead and use right here is the green. But add just a little bit of detail right here is like for the pants, and it's like draws like if Jaycee Dugard would be wearing like some type of a pants other than shorts. It's like talk about the type of clothing that they will be wearing. It's like around the summer springtime it is. But other than that if I can more likely I'll go ahead and draw like a shadow. A lot of times whenever I'm doing my artwork, I usually and like let's say as a shadow, kind of like that if the sun were to be shining on them, for like what you call like the ladies, the lady maid season it is. If there was like a see here, go ahead and add like say a reflection right here, and then see here, draw right there, reflection. With that reflection that from how the sun is shining, and then how it's reflecting, of course, off of her and off the photo, and then from where the car is as well. But more likely, I would probably say that's something to be proud of, and knowing about whenever you pass the test and get your driver's license, that knowing about that from how well something was was accomplished, but on the other hand, that knowing about that I'm sure that we're like all have a story to tell about whichever it is, about if it's really anything. But on the other hand, that knowing about is like for the ordeal, knowing about that with me, that like with most book readers, if you would be reading the book about Jaycee Dugard In The Stolen Life, and it kind of gets you an idea about how survival, about how she handled living a life, and then knowing about how she survived, as long as how she was reunited. But other than that, there's talking about right here, let's say Jaycee Dugard, like you say, the lady maid season color activity. Talk about right here the detail right here is like with the tree, along say with the car, and then of course along with like what you call it's like the Soki line, and of course the Mostika Tagale it is, and then say with the perfume. But other than that talk about right here is talk of say for the lady maid season color activity. Well, hello everyone. It's like you talk about right here is like for Jaycee Dugard, and then the lady maid season coloring activity right here is that what I went ahead and drew right here is like is that you say that just like say in the cover book that you have, I went ahead and drew right here is of say the girl and the guy right here that with Jaycee Dugard, and along say with the car that she will be driving, and along in the background will be as a tree. And a lot of times anybody probably think that with most of the time, if we were to make up our own season, such as or our own perfume, it would be like say Mystico Aguilé. That's like so forth, Mystico Aguilé. But other than that talking about with Mosicos, or if it's anything to do with Mosica Tagulin or the Tagulé, or for Mostico Aguilé, that a lot of times we wonder though about the whole part about that with most of the time that creating, like we say, is like a bookmark though. But if we were to make a bookmark, mark our place for where we're reading from, and then on your hand too, you'll read about there's a book though. And I like think about them, like whenever I read the book, and then decide if I want to go ahead and maybe draw something, and just like anything that maybe come to my mind, that's whenever I just want like wondering that for most of the time in the book though, it basically talks about is like really from how she survived, and of course her dramatic deals as well. But on the other hand, that the way I would think about it though is that knowing about that really that with whole purpose about the book, really that knowing about that anybody may think about the number of failures it seemed like that happened while she was in captivity as well. And a lot of times anybody maybe think that if you think that while you were reading the book that if you felt like maybe drawing a few pictures about what you may think about how something happened at some time, and of course with the sexual abuse, and on the other hand too that I'm sure a lot of that stuff like described in the book is probably not really appropriate for young kids, but just for others to understand, of course, about the details about the book. But on the other hand, that for ladies made for the lady maid season is basically though that the type of activity of showing is to present like with the type of season, if we were to have a season such as like what you call is like for Mosicas, the Mosicas or Mystico Aguilés, besides the perfume kind. But if we were to have a season that was like known as like for the Mosicans or something like that, Mosican season or something like that, where a lot of times you may see a lot of fruit trees and vegetable trees along with a lot of plant trees and stuff like that. So the way I think about it, if we're going to go ahead and maybe make up our own season, more likely it would probably be like what you call is like if you were to pick out a flower or pick out maybe a perfume, maybe give it a name, or if you want to come up with your own recipe for something or something that you planted something and then you kind of gave it a name, whichever it is. But in a lot of ways though that I could tell anybody here that I don't think really not anything that you really read in a book is not really all made up. Like we're talking about that a lot of times with most books that we may think that the things that for like what you call the 10 things that make her happy, and along with a few things that dreams for the future it is. And at the time we wonder like really that is a lot of that stuff all made up, or just something that just came to our minds at that time, whichever it is. But in a lot of ways I just really think that about the fact about a lot of the things that we look forward to, that I really just think that it's all about we may think that anything that we may write down or anything that we may think about is so totally impossible. Why does that seem like so totally impossible? Was due to the fact because maybe where we are now and then from where we're planning on going, and a lot of ways that anybody that may say about that one of these days that anything that's related to me so far as for what I'm studying, for in college though, that I keep thinking about, that I don't know if it's ever going to be what you call published on a book. But on the other hand too, that knowing about that I used to, there used to be a few times out of a year to where I was very shy, and like what I read about in the book, that whenever Jaycee Dugard, it's like that she was shy for those couple of times even around the new classmates, and then she basically like it talking about this like if you see something wrong, speak up. And in a lot of ways that I could tell anybody here that you may be shy and nervous to speak up in front of a lot of people if you may see something wrong, or if it's due to the fact because you don't know too much of anybody. And I really just think that the whole purpose about the story, though, that really that you know that the ordeals, of course, that this lady went through, knowing about how she survived, and then that knowing about that really about how she was still able to remember a number of things. And I'm thinking, though, that anybody probably think about, you may be surprised of what you remember maybe by the time you hear the voice of somebody that you haven't talked to in a very long time, and on your hand too, that knowing about that by the time you actually are able to do something that you haven't been able to do in such a long time, you may start remembering stuff. So a lot of ways, though, that anybody that may say that our memory could be that large, at times, and then it starts expanding as besides as the times goes on. But then maybe by the time you start doing something, or maybe by something that comes up, it may start bringing back all these what you call these wonderful memories. And just knowing about the whole purpose of, I say, with the book, though, is knowing about with a lot of my drawings. I'm like, a lot of my drawings kind of remind me of knowing about that besides about the story, though, that whenever I used to draw freehand, and I remember that I used to draw a lot of birds. I drew a lot of birds, and that some of the birds were not really what you call really professionally, artistic, or realism or anything like that. But on your hand too, that knowing about with the birds, and I would actually draw the details to see the feathers, and of course with the beak, and then along to see the front, it's like the eyes, and of course to see with the other parts to see of the bird. And I don't know if I would really give it a name, but on your hand too, that basically I would draw birds and I would draw flowers until I would just be like, yep, and then I would draw it and I would just present it. It's like, this is what I can do. This is the work that I took my time for. And like with anybody, that I'm sure if anybody were to maybe check the book out at the library, then I don't know, if anybody has ever gotten bored after reading it, several times, and besides maybe a nonfiction book, other than maybe a few of the Stephen King book novels or anything like that, cookbooks or anything, but on your hand too, to knowing about that the whole part about the story, which anybody would probably say that was pretty amazing, of knowing about how she was found after 18 years of, say, a captivity. And the way I think about it, though, that about the whole part about the story, though, is that one of these days, that I'm sure that like anybody will probably say about, you had the book for quite some time, and you haven't read through the whole parts of it yet. And I'm like, well, not really. And I'm like, I know I kind of took 2 glances through it, and but on the other hand too, that knowing about that, like what anybody would probably say, that I don't know if the book, more likely the book probably is available for check out, maybe at the online library. But then some people that may say that they bought the book, or like they say, I bought the book, and like with anybody, I tell anybody here that I was surprised that I did find the book, because I didn't think I would find it, because I knew that more likely that was going to be one of the best sellers of of that year, from whenever it was first released, to say on the books, at the bookstores. But other than that, I really don't know if my drawings are ever going to be published, one of these days. But I tell you one thing, that if they are, then knowing about that, I don't know if I'm that type of person who's going to maybe do autographs, but just knowing about that, so far as giving the whole purpose about the story, credit for knowing about how well it was told, and knowing about between, like, say, the truth about the survivor was. It's like the bookmark right here is I went ahead and made of talking about, say, for Jaycee Dugard. But other than that, is talk about, it's like knowing about this, like, is to enjoy our reading, and talk about, say, for the lady made seasoning, say, so far as the color activity.